Am I wrong for getting mad that I wasn't invited to my ex-wife's wedding? My ex-wife and I were together for 7 years and we have 2 daughters together ages 5 and 3. Shortly after the birth of our 3-year-old, we broke up in a kind of civil matter. A few months after our breakup, she met her current fiancé and they started dating. Once our divorce was finalized, a year after, they got engaged. Overall, due to the fact that I'm the father of 2 children that I have with her, and I've been in her family for 7 years, I have a pretty great relationship with her family and I still get invited to family gatherings. I can tell my ex is not too happy about it, but she sucks it up for the sake of the kids and her family. They've been planning their wedding for some time now and they just gave out invitations. I wasn't included. Our daughters were, but I wasn't. I contacted her family, mainly her sisters and her mom, and I expressed how upset I am that I'm excluded from the wedding, and I'm even more upset that they didn't do something about it. They said that it's not up to them and it's the couple's decision and they wish they had me there, but they don't want to piss off my ex-wife by going against her wishes. Later, my ex called me and scolded me for calling her family to complain and asked me why I feel entitled to an invite to her wedding. I told her that I still feel like part of the family and it's weird that I'm invited to all these family gatherings but excluded from this one, and I think we can be civil and supportive towards each other. I also feel like it will be a good thing for our kids to see us being so supportive, and me being in the wedding sends a good message. We are still co-parenting after all, and we have a decent kind of relationship despite our breakup, and I don't see a reason to be excluded since I'm still a big part of her life and we share 2 kids. She said I'm very entitled for this and that it's ridiculous how I got mad that I, as an ex, was not invited to the wedding and that she doesn't owe me that. So, am I the asshole? Why would you want to go to your ex's wedding, you weirdo? What? Co-parenting or not, that's no. Ew. No. Am I wrong for calling my brother's girlfriend disgusting and refusing to meet her? I, 27 female, recently had a very unpleasant encounter with my brother's 32 male new girlfriend, 21 female, that has culminated in the family getting dragged into it. We'll call her Anne. He's been with Anne for about 5 months, but I've never met her for various reasons from both of our ends. He said he wanted to get to know her properly before introducing her to us all. And I made a crack along the lines of, yeah, well, 12-year-olds are known to be unpredictable, which made him sulk for a while too. I probably shouldn't have said that, but the age gap is weird to me. I met up with him a few weeks ago for coffee. The topic of Anne came up briefly, but he just said that they are still together and he liked her, so I was coming around to the idea that I maybe should stop being a judgmental asshole and just meet her. After, I went back to my car, grabbed my plastic bags, and went shopping in town. After about an hour, I came back to my car and it was messed up. It had been scratched, a drink thrown over it, but the worst thing was that someone had smeared blood on my driver door and literally shoved a used feminine hygiene product in the door handle. I had to go back to the store and buy rubber gloves and bleach just to get back into my car. I get home and I get a text from my brother. He said Anne had confronted him when he got home over his cheating and she thought I was the other woman and had vandalized my car. He said she was really upset and wanted to apologize to me in person and give me flowers. I said that even if I had been some other woman, that what she did was disgusting and she was nuts. I never wanted to meet her and I expected payment for cleaning and damages. For the last 2 weeks, it's been this revolting door of my family calling me and telling me to let her apologize. Me letting them know exactly what she did and them mostly agreeing with me in the end. Then I get messages from my brother telling me to stop telling people what happened because it was embarrassing Anne. I had some aunts who are mad at me for even telling them. Make it make sense. And her family are of course livid with me, not to mention my brother. It's just so much noise in my head that I'm starting to think I should just drop it because I have repaired the damage and had it cleaned. I've sent my brother the bill but not had anything from him yet because he says I've done emotional damage to Anne. Bro, honest to God, I swear, I would have called the cops. I'm petty like that. I would have pressed charges and be like, yo, this person vandalized my car. And you have proof, like the text message proof that, or the call that she vandalized your car. You're too nice. I don't care if my brother or not. I would be like, this bitch is crazy. I think it was emotionally damaging to have to see what she did to my car. But in the off chance that I've gone mad and I am overreacting, please tell me. So am I the asshole for calling my brother's girlfriend disgusting and never wanting to meet her because of what she did to my car? Am I wrong for returning the shoes I got from my husband after he accused me of stealing from him? My 29, husband 36 is the breadwinner of the family. I stay home with the kids who are preschool age. He pays for the mortgage, bills, household needs, food, kids' needs, etc. He has set a monthly budget for each category and handles getting everything done. Recently, he has become overwhelmed and told me to handle grocery shopping, but before he let me, he asked me to write a list of all the stuff we need so he could calculate the total and also so he'd have an idea of how much I'll be spending when I take his credit card. I didn't have an issue with that because this way we'd watch our spending habits. However, he said I'm never allowed to get something that isn't on the list unless I'm paying for it some other way. Huh? On Friday, I was doing some grocery shopping as usual and saw that the store had some nice shoes on sale. The price was insanely low for this brand, and so I decided to grab a pair for my husband, thinking he'd be happy with them since he needed new sneakers anyway. I bought them, and when I showed them to him, he flipped out on me saying I made a huge mistake by buying something that wasn't on the list. I agreed with him, but I thought that since the shoes were for him, then it'd be different. He said I screwed up and shouldn't have bought those sneakers without telling him. To my defense, I said the price was so low and it's not like I spent $100 on shoes. And also, I saw this as a great deal and wanted him to have those nice sneakers. He plainly said that what I did is considered stealing since he never consented to have those sneakers purchased and said that I'm being irresponsible with money. That is why I no longer have an income and my spending habits need a grip. We argued about it for hours and he avoided speaking to me for the rest of the day. The next day, I went and returned the sneakers and took the money back. He got home in the evening and lost it when he found out. He said he couldn't believe how petty and childish I was to actually do this. I explained that I was just correcting my mistake. He tried to contact the store and was told the sneakers were already sold. He got even angrier with me, but I told him that he accused me of stealing from him when I was just trying to do a nice gesture. He yelled that I had a lot of nerve calling what I did a nice gesture while using his money to do it. I told him he had no right to yell at me after I corrected my mistake and gave back the money he accused me of stealing. He threw a fit, then went out to his friends and came home late at night still not talking to me. So am I wrong here?
2 years ago, I, 27, got married in a courtroom just to get the immigration paperwork started for my abroad now husband, 29. He always promised to provide me with a real ceremony eventually. The ceremony I wanted was picked out and cost about $7,000 in a South American resort, includes ceremony, reception, and week-long honeymoon. I loved the idea since it was a country both our families could easily fly to. We could have had it in my country, USA, but not his, since members of my family legally aren't allowed to enter his family's country due to felonies. To be fair to his family, I suggested that we all travel instead of just his family traveling. These last 2 years, I've been planning and saving for our marriage. I have $6,000 set aside exclusively for it. Meanwhile, I've also spent thousands on his immigration fees to make it eventually legal for him to live and work here. He stayed in his own country in the meantime these last 2 years. Our immigration case is almost at the final part. All that's left is paying 2 last fees to the NVC from a USA bank account. Since I'm the only one with a USA bank account, it's up to me. I joked and said, "Alright, I'm about to spend this last 500-ish bucks, but I'm still waiting for that ceremony date." To which he replied, "Why bother since we're already married?" He further explained he liked my self-made website and invitations I had ready to go for the wedding, and that he was proud of me for holding on to an idea for 2 years. But that it's a waste of money in his eyes. But he wouldn't be opposed to it if I just paid for it myself. Me and the wedding planner at the resort were completely blindsided since this came out of nowhere. He seemed happy with it and I assumed that he would contribute to the price up until that point. I didn't put my bank details in, so the immigration case completely halted. He says I'm ruining his future, but why should I hold up my end when he didn't hold up his? His family and him both really think that I'm being an a-hole. Am I the asshole for canceling my husband's immigration case right at the end? I work as a security guard, and me and my team have traditionally worn a typical police-style uniform when on duty. We recently had a new site manager who wanted to change our image and impose one of those concierge-style uniforms with a blazer and tie, despite all of us objecting as it was uncomfortable, impractical, and we all hate the way it looks. The manager told us the uniform change was coming whether we liked it or not, because one thing he cares about more than anything is presenting the right image. So after we began wearing the new uniform, my team, at my instruction, began to deliberately make ourselves look as gross and slovenly as possible. For example, we would spill food and drink on our uniforms on purpose and not wash them or iron them prior to starting a shift. One guy made a point of wearing his uniform when he went to the gym and worked out before coming on duty, so the uniform was crumbled, drenched in sweat, and reeking. We would drag our blazers through the dirt and mud and wear shirts half untucked. When I needed to sneeze, I would openly and in front of clients sneeze into the tie that I was wearing and loudly blow my nose into it like it was a handkerchief. Also, at the end of every shift when writing our reports, each of us would always litter the report with mentions of how bad the uniform was and how it made the job more difficult. Complaints about our appearances skyrocketed and the manager held an emergency meeting where he screamed at us and called us selfish a-holes. But we refused to be cooperative, so he was eventually let go because he couldn't manage us effectively. Before he left, he told me that I was the biggest piece of crap he ever met for being the ringleader of this whole thing. I don't think I am, but the fact that he was fired and has a family is the thing that makes me consider that maybe I am. Am I the asshole for leading a mutiny against the new uniform policy and getting a guy fired?
Am I the asshole for locking the door to prevent my husband from getting involved in my job interview? I, female 33, am unemployed, but God knows I've been looking for a job for well over 5 months. I started looking as soon as I recovered from my knee surgery. My husband has a high-paying job, and first he suggested I leave my career as a sales representative behind. Not up to his wealthy family standards, and they mocked me for it a lot. He wanted me to stay home, but I refused because I love my job and want to grow in it. He suggested he find me a better job since he has connections, but that's not in my field. I've had several job interviews and my husband ruined all of them for me, and here's how. Am I the asshole for locking the door to prevent my husband from getting involved in my job interview? He'd walk into the room whenever I was having a potential job interview and introduce himself and take over the conversation. He'd tell the interviewer about how good I am, but slip in some bad stuff that eventually cost me the job. His argument was that he's just making recommendations since he has connections and influence. I told him stop, and he said he was trying to guide me. Anyway, I got a job interview and I decided to lock the door. Of course, my husband asked me to let him in, and I put my headphones on and used noise canceling. After the interview, he went off and called me disrespectful and awful.